What's going on, muscle monsters? Align Gonzalez here, and in this video I want to talk about lean bulking and why, if you're not a skinny beginner, it's probably the best route to go. Okay, now it has to do a lot with partitioning ratio. All right, and this basically has to do with how we distribute nutrients. Okay, so the fatter you get, right, the higher your body fat percentage, the more efficient you become at storing fat, and the less efficient you become at building muscle. Whereas when you're lean, you become more efficient at building muscle and less efficient at storing body fat. So after a certain point in your training, right, the rate at which you can actually build muscle slows down dramatically. So if we're still gaining a pound a week after we've been training for 2 years, we're gonna add a lot of fat to our frame. And this is, again, going to put us in a position where now we're more efficient at putting on fat and less efficient at building muscle. And you can see how over time this could result in a pretty horrible experience, because now you've put on way too much fat, you haven't put on much more muscle mass, and now you have to cut for a very long time, which means that you become more susceptible to muscle loss. So instead, what I would recommend is a slow, gradual approach. Okay, start at 16 times your body weight in calories, track your weight daily, and then get an average at the end of the week. Okay, do that for the second week. If you're gaining more than 1/4 of a pound per week, then you're gaining weight too fast. Now, I'm assuming that you've already been training for a few years, you're a little bit more advanced, and you have completely passed up that newbie phase in your training, okay? And so, again, if you're gaining more than 1/4 of a pound per week, chances are you're putting on a lot of fat, okay? And so you're gonna continue to consume that number of calories until you're not gaining weight, okay? Until that weekly average is not going up. And if it's going up too quickly, then you may wanna consider decreasing your calories slightly. Now, in most cases, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be at maintenance. And at that point, when you're at maintenance or your average weight is not going up, then what you wanna do is you wanna increase your calories slightly by about 250, preferably in the form of carbs, okay? And you wanna continue doing this for as long as you can, right? Because the longer you can stay in this lean mass phase, ultimately the more muscle you will build. Not only that, but if, say for example, you were gaining weight a lot quicker, you get to that point where now you're storing fat faster, gaining muscle slower, right? Whereas this guy, he's been gradually increasing weight, right? Doing it the smart way, taking the lean approach. Well, this guy is going to have gained probably less weight, but much more muscle, and he still has more time in this growth phase, so he can gain even more muscle. This guy over here, now he has to cut, and he has to cut for a long period of time because he's gained so much fat. This makes him more susceptible to muscle loss. On top of that, he's just wasting time in a destroying phase where he's focusing on burning fat rather than building muscle. Okay, this guy over here, he has plenty of time to gain more muscle before he reaches that point where it's time to cut. And once he does reach that point, he's not gonna have so much fat that he's gonna have to cut for a long period of time, all right, making his cuts shorter. And thus over 2 years or 5 years, you can see how he's spending way more time in a growth phase than in a cutting phase, excuse me. All right, so take the lean bulk approach if you are looking at this in a long term, right? In long-term view, and your goal is to gain as much muscle as possible over the next 5 years. Because again, if you try to go too fast, gain too much weight, you're gonna end up in this point in your training where you are bulking up too quickly, spending too much time cutting, and then ultimately what ends up happening is you spent all this time training, okay? And then your physique is not really changing. Whereas this guy, you look at him a year from now or 2 years from now, the improvements are significant, all right? So that's pretty much it, guys. If your goal is to gain as much muscle as possible in the least amount of time possible, it's not about gaining weight really quickly. It's about doing it in a smart and efficient way. All right, so I hope you found that helpful. If you did, click the like button below. If you're an actually skinny guy, I've got a gift for you. I want to give you a copy of my book, Bulk Up Fast, while supplies last. Okay, so I bought 1,000 copies and I want to give them away to serious action takers. But once those copies are gone, they're gone for good. You'll be able to buy it later on Amazon, but you may as well grab it now while it's free. All you have to do is cover the shipping and I'll mail it anywhere in the world. Go to the link in the description, tell me where to send it, cover the small shipping fee, and I'll send this right to your doorstep. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.